Arturo, not here. Adam,
Here.
Clayton, Ryan, Catherine excused, Justin excused, Jacob, Brock, I have an email, Clancy, Conley, Caleb Cook, Copeland, Colton, Duffield,
Here.
Graceland, Hunter, let me check. Andrew Ginter, Savannah excused, so is Looney, Massey, let me see, no. Jasmine excused, Namovich, Hotel, no. Emma, the other Emma, Richie, Smith excused, Sublet here. I think I have an email from Bronson, but I'm not sure. Bronson? No. Beatrice excused. All right. I know you guys are getting tired of the semester.
A little bit.
No, this 16-week semester. We should go into a quarter system. Each class is 10 weeks. We actually had the discussion right around COVID times. That was actually an ideal time to make a transition. But people argued that, oh, we have to change the programs, basically divide the content into, take 2 classes, turn it into 3, and it's not that complicated. You spend a summer on it. Each program could have done it easily, but they haven't done it.
Korea, and they did that.
Huh?
I got a buddy who goes to Korea College, and they did that whenever COVID hit. They switched up how they do their semesters, and it makes students go less time.
My son is going to UC San Diego. They're in quarter system. I mean, by the time 10 week comes around, I see it. I've been teaching here almost 18 years now. By the time week 9, 10 comes, I see in the faces of students, it's like, when is this going to be over? And the trouble is, you spend at least 6, 7 weeks to get to the stuff that actually matters, all the intro stuff. But by the time we get to 10 weeks, students are not there to receive it. You see the attendance. I had 5 people who didn't even bother to send an email to say they're not coming. Directly or indirectly, quarter of the grade is on attendance. I have students with 5 days of not attending. We have a total of 15 anyway. So basically, you told me that no matter what you do, unless you do 100% on everything else, you're not going to get an A. Well, if you don't want one, I'm not going to give you one. It's that simple. And doing it 2 8-week stuff, 8 week is too short. They do full classes on 8 weeks, but what was your name? Brock, okay. Okay. And doing a full class in 8 weeks, that's too tiring on students. If you're doing English 101, fine, but especially if you're doing something that involves math and stuff, certain concepts you need time to get them, not just putting number of hours. Anyway, let's continue with chapter 11. We kind of got things set up and said it is the exposure to systematic risk that matters, and unsystematic or idiosyncratic risk is not rewarded. Okay, back in 50s, a guy named Markowitz came up with what we now call the capital asset pricing model, CAPM for short. His model had a simple assumption. This model assumed that in equilibrium, all asset returns earn a reward defined as expected return over and above the so-called risk-free return rate, earn a reward that is proportional to the systematic risk. More importantly, reward per unit of risk is same for all the assets. Let's define for an asset A, for a generic asset A, I already had you excused. Let's define a generic asset A and let B of A, and let's make that Greek, denotes exposure or sensitivity of asset A to the systematic risk. So the higher is the beta, the more exposed you are. An example, Coke, the company Coke, being in consumer business and it's so diversified, they're not as exposed compared to, let's say, a biotech company or a startup company. You know, if interest rates go up, not much is going to happen to Coke. Sure, there's going to be some effect because overall economy is going to either slow down or contract a little bit, but it's not going to affect Coke that much. Unless it's a really deep recession, you're not going to give up your soda, right? But when interest rates go up, funding for riskier companies like a biotech, that's going to be harder, and they're going to be affected more. Let M denote the market portfolio, which is defined as the portfolio of everything and if you took all the assets outstanding out there and put them into a portfolio, that would be the market portfolio. We will normalize the betas so that market portfolio has a beta of 1. So beta of markets is 1. Because we generically called it sensitivity, that kind of acts like a normalization. Because if I multiply all the betas by 2, that's all that matters. Asset A is twice as exposed as asset B. But if I call one of them 1, then you're good. And the risk-free assets that has a return of RF, by definition, is a beta of 0, hence beta of risk-free asset is 0.